Hi everyone, and welcome to another Sketchbook Sunday episode. As you can probably tell by the left side of my sketchbook, today I'm going to be painting yet another beachy ocean wave painting, and you can think of this as sort of a part 2 to last week's Sketchbook Sunday. I am kind of obsessed with painting water right now, and I just wanted to continue last week's painting, but this time create a sandbar out of the adjacent page. So to start off, you can just tape the borders of your page, but this is completely optional. It just allows for a cleaner look once you're finished your painting. And you want to cover the entire page with an even layer of water using a mop brush, and I've linked the one that I use down in the description. I think it does the job really well, and it just distributes water evenly across your page, so I highly encourage that particular brand. After you've eliminated any potential pools in the corners of the page, you want to start painting on the actual sand bank. So you can start from the center of your page and use a very pale tone, sort of a light skin tone, and just cover the center of your page diagonally. And then you can also take blue watercolor and sort of create a gradient fading from the sand into each adjacent corner of your page. And you're going to basically want to create several layers of this simply because you want the water to be really vibrant. So I think I ended up painting 3 or 4 layers, but you can do as many as it takes depending on the type of paint and the opacity of the pigment that you are using. Once your layers have completely dried, you're going to start painting on the shadows of the waves. So basically, I'm painting on 2 or 3 different waves on each corner here. So you can do the same, or you can do less or more, it doesn't really matter. But I think that 2 or 3 is a pretty good spread across the page. So basically what you're going to be doing is creating this uneven, wavy line to create the shadow of the wave, and you're going to apply darker pigment to insinuate that shadow. You can even mix a little bit of black into the blue if your blue isn't really opaque enough or dark enough, as you can see me doing here. And this will just create a larger contrast or intensity across the waves. Once you've painted on your waves on each corner, you can paint on some rocks onto the sandbank, and this is completely optional, but I just wanted to add a little bit of complexity and variation to my painting, so you can omit this step if you're not really comfortable with it. But basically I took that same tone that I used for the sand, and I mixed a little bit of black and blue into it, and that creates the perfect shade for rock. Next comes the really fun part, at least for me it's really fun. Once your layers have completely dried, and this is to ensure that no smudging occurs, you can take either white ink or white acrylic paint, which is what I'm using, and this is where you're going to be creating the foam that is generated when waves crash into the water. So you're going to outline those shadows that you created earlier, and then you're going to be painting these tiny circles that gradually become larger the farther that you move away from the solid white line that you use to border the shadows of the waves. And this is because the further that you sort of get away from the wave, you want to show that this foam had an opportunity to disperse, and you do that by basically making your circles a little bit larger and not completely completing the circles, so they can so that the foam can look like it is dispersing. So again, the technique you want to use here is creating these tiny little circles along the initial white line that you painted that borders the shadow of the wave, and then gradually paint larger uneven circles. And you don't want these to be completely round circles, you want them to just resemble a circle but sort of be irregular in shape, because foam is not a perfect circle. You just want to insinuate the foamy effect of a crashing wave. So here I'm starting not to finish my circles anymore. I'm more so just creating these lines above the initial circles, and you can do the same. Later we're going to be adding a little bit of splatter just to increase that wave crashing effect, but we'll get to that in a moment. So I've decided to create one more wave that is just very slowly crashing against the shore bank of our sand bank here. And if you've ever been to a beach and you've been really close to the water, I can assure you, you probably recall running away from the wave and grabbing your towel in a frenzy. And so that's what we're kind of trying to paint in this third wave here. Again, you want it to be really rough. You don't want to paint the circles with as much intensity and roundness, I guess, as the previous two waves, because this foam, especially when it's just coming up on the sand, it has had a lot more time to disperse and sort of fade away, so you want to create that effect by painting very loose white lines. Once you've painted your waves with the white acrylic paint, you're going to be painting the water kind of around the rocks, because obviously when there are rocks on a shore, waves crash into them and create a lot of splatter, and you want to signify that by painting a lot of white acrylic paint or white ink around the rocks. So all you have to do is just add a few white accents just in front of the rocks, like in the direction that the water is coming from, and this will insinuate water crashing against rocks on the shore. I also added a very faint final wave just coming from the bottom right corner. Don't forget to splat on your little speckles just to make your waves a little bit more realistic. Peel off your tape once your whole painting has completely dried and you're all finished. You can see here that my paint sort of bled through the tape, so you can just take your white ink or your white acrylic paint and touch up the edges just to make sure that you have a nice clean border. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video if you enjoyed it, and check out some of my previous uploads.